Welcome to the next episode of Isn't That Rich podcast. Today we're talking about the importance of collaboration and celebrating the things that are happening within our community. Today we have a very special guest and good friend, Alex Mullins. She is the marketing manager with Arthur Agency. Alex, welcome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Welcome on, Alex.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, we're super excited. So Alex, you are a transplant from Chicago, is that right?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
we want to hear a little bit about your story. How did you get to Southern Illinois?
Absolutely. So I'm originally from the Chicagoland area. I grew up in the suburbs, lived in the city for a little while, and that's where I met my husband. And when I first met him, he was coaching at UIC in Chicago. He's a D1 college basketball coach. And so a couple schools later, here we are here in Southern Illinois, and we are going on our 5th season. So we moved here about 4.5 years ago, and it's our home.
And I'm a transplant as well, and I know I went through a lot when I moved from Minnesota to down here.
Yeah.
And I would love to hear how that transition was for you. I know it's a lot.
Yes,
so
definitely.
Tell me about that, how you went through that and what it felt like for you, because it was crazy for me.
Yeah, I didn't really know what to expect when I first moved down here. I had an idea of the community, and obviously SIU with my brother-in-law playing here and attending SIU for college, but I really had no expectations. But I think it was important that I didn't have any expectations and allowed myself to explore and be open to any possibility. And it was initially the group of friends that I met that really helped me grow and become familiar with the area and really fall in love.
Yeah. So So besides your brother-in-law, you didn't really know anybody?
No, my brother-in-law and his
Okay.
wife came down as well. We all took over the program at the same time. And so that was a really exciting time for our families. And at the time, my parents would come down and visit. My husband's parents would come down, and it was always like, okay, where are we going to eat? Where are we going to
Yeah.
go? And I would start reaching out to coworkers and finding out, okay, where do I go? And Kelsey Cunico, she was with Walker's Bluff at the time. She's with Castle Ridge now. I met her through an interview, and instantly we were best friends, truly.
Yeah.
And a lot of what I experienced in the early days, I definitely attribute to her and kind of taking me into their friend group. But she also is from the area. She's a true SI ambassador,
Yeah.
And so it was really nice to not only be introduced to other people in the area that truly love living in the region, but to have someone physically take you. Like, hey, you want to go to Alto Pass and check out some of the wineries? I'm like, what are you talking about? Wineries?
Yeah.
And then we spent like 2 weekends back to back going to different wineries and restaurants, and she took me to Global Gourmet for the first time. Now I get to work
so
next
good.
to it every day.
Nice.
And so having those connections and just resources available and people that just truly love living here around you, I think that made a significant impact on me when I first moved here.
That's awesome. And people don't realize all there is to offer in Southern Illinois. Like you mentioned already, the great restaurants. I'm from Minnesota, and it's huge. We're foodies from Minnesota,
Yes.
right? And so I didn't realize all that Southern Illinois had to offer in ways of the food industry. And then you talk about the wineries and the hiking and everything that we
Yes.
have right here in our backyard. And it took me a while, and I'm kind of like you, like I need somebody to show me the ropes first before I feel comfortable. So I love that you fell in love with the area.
Yes.
Yeah.
And my husband and I, we are also foodies. I'm a coffee lover. And when Crown Brew was first in Carterville, we went there all the time. This was right down the street from our house. And so that was exciting for us because then we realized, wow, there really is a community surrounded by coffee, food, wine, even the breweries. I mean, we
Yeah.
have Scratch right in our backyard. You go up to Chicago, they're like, Scratch? They were a James Beard finalist. I'm like, it's
Right.
20 minutes from my house.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the coolest thing. And I think it's a very unique place to live because of how much there really is here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because I'm from here, and I think a lot of times we see people leaving the rural community into the cities and stuff like that. So
Right.
when, people move into the region and to celebrate it in such like a true way, I'm always super encouraged by that. And I think it's amazing that like in such a short amount of time, you really have become like an ambassador of the region, like following you on social media, you're always posting all of you're doing so many amazing things all the time. So it's just cool
have fun
to
with
see
it.
that. Yeah. And I love that. You know, I feel like you're really good as far as like networking and just connecting with people and stuff like that.
I think a lot of that has even stemmed from working with small and local businesses from a professional level. So not only is it rewarding for me on a personal level where I get to, you know, see business owners out and about, or, you know, you go, you know, your parents are in town and you want to take them to dinner, or you're just, you know, grabbing a drink with a friend, you get to see the business owners firsthand thriving out in the community, but then being able to work with them professionally too, and then seeing your work truly in real life is so rewarding. So I think that makes it a lot of fun too for me, again, from a professional and personal standpoint.
Yeah.
So,
That's amazing. So you've worked with a lot of the businesses. I want to get down and talk about what you do for Arthur Agency, because
absolutely.
I mean, the connections you've made through that in being in marketing, and I know we do too, you know, we're in the community all of the time, and that's where we make our best connections and collaborating with those people. So I really want to talk about how you began your career with Arthur Agency and what you would do for them.
Yeah. So I initially started out as an account manager. You know, living in Chicago, I actually have a luxury goods and retail management background. And so a lot of the love for goods and promoting yourself and all of that kind of stemmed from that experience, and then really turned into a love for marketing. So I started out as an account manager with Arthur Agency, and I started right when COVID hit, actually. So I was in that office for about like 9 days, and then boom, COVID. So it was just immediately remote, and what a time. I mean, talk about being thrown into the wolves, and my team was so awesome.
Yeah.
And they're so passionate about what they do too, so it was a really easy transition, but it was a crazy time. And I think what was so amazing about that was, you know, everyone, I mean, the entire community was like, what is going on? I mean, it was just a crazy time. And, you know, seeing the transition of some of the business goals changing for a lot of businesses, and then realizing that their marketing goals are going to start changing now that their business goals are changing. And we saw a huge uptick in people needing rebranding. They need a new website. They've got to add all of their COVID guidelines to their websites and things like that. So we started to grow really, really fast. And the company's actually been around for 20 years. We're celebrating 20 years this year.
Wow.
And so this past year, they bumped me up to marketing manager, which really entails a little bit more content strategy, a lot of social media, a lot of digital media. And so that's what I'm currently focused on right now.
That's amazing to hear, because you hear all of the, you know, when businesses have to scale back, marketing is one of the first things to go. And so for to hear that you saw the opposite during COVID, that's amazing. That's great to hear.
I truly believe too, it really stems from the variety of industries that we work with and the businesses that we work with too. It's everything from large manufacturing companies to small retail, hospitality, law, I mean, economic development, nonprofits. It's truly across the board. But we did see that very consistent uptick across, where everyone's like, okay, we gotta figure this out. Like, how are we going to reach our consumers? How are we going to reach our market and our target audience?
Yeah, think about different ways to do so.
Exactly. And helping those businesses really work through those obstacles. You know, I think that was the biggest thing. It was like, you know, especially at that time in particular, it was helping businesses who may not have dabbled in the digital landscape try and figure out, like, okay, how are we gonna make sure that we're still thriving and really get the word out there? I think the biggest example of that would be restaurants. You know? And so having their menus readily available, QR codes on everything.
Yes. And they're not going away.
No.
So it almost started this whole new way of marketing. Honestly, the QR code did. And
exactly.
The digital. Crazy.
Yeah. Wow.
I love it.
So what do you feel like businesses are doing, you know, right now to bring people to the area and then also just like keep them here?
So I definitely have noticed this momentum and a pride of place. I can definitely speak to that across the board, and again, multiple industries where businesses that may have been here for a long time are really promoting their pride of place. They are proud to do business here, and they want everyone to know it. They want to scream it off the top of the mountain, like peaks or whatever, I mean, they really are. And I also think that we're seeing a lot more collaboration. So for example, even Faye in Murfreesboro.
Oh yeah, Faye restaurant, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Faye Cafe.
Cafe,
yes.
Owned by Amy Mills of 17th Street. She works with so many different vendors and brings in, a floral shop or a clothing company and does pop-ups. And that collaboration, that's new. I mean, we have really only seen that within the last few years, where you're seeing that collaboration of different industries kind of coming together for different pop-ups. Eccentrics, for example, they're bringing in tons of different vendors.
I think I saw Eccentrics brought in like a permanent jewelry person,
How
like
cool is
vendor.
that?
I love that.
Yes, absolutely. And so I think not only are folks realizing that there's value in collaboration, but they're also realizing that if we are proud to be here and our consumer is also proud to be here, that is only going to benefit you, right? Like to be able to, I guess, align your morals with the same morals of your consumer, again, that's only going to benefit you.
Right. Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things I think that really does make this region special, and it does stick out. Not that we're the only region that does collaboration, but I've had friends that, own businesses in bigger cities, and they're like, man, we don't ever do anything like that. It's just kind of like each man for themselves. But what's cool around here is businesses collaborating, but it actually helps each party. I remember like with Crown Brew, like we did collaboration with Rolling Oaks alpaca farm. Like, what does coffee have to do with alpacas? But like, we all did really great, and it was just cool. Like, everything was about community, and I think that's something that's important for us here at the bank is just collaborating with businesses, being involved in the community. It helps everybody. Was the saying, "A rising tide raises all ships," or something like that? Or I'm butchering it, but just kind of like helping each other, I think, has really been like the most like special thing that we've seen kind of.
Absolutely.
Right. And I think with collaboration too, you get to utilize each other's resources. So if I'm going to Crown Brew to do a pop-up there, Crown Brew is going to share about it. And now all of a sudden their audience is captured and maybe will start following me. And so being able to utilize each other's resources in that is huge. It just lifts both parties up. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. And what other ways have you talked a little bit of economic development, and you work closely with one business in SI Now, correct? And so a lot of what they are doing is try to really build up the reputation of Southern Illinois, from my understanding, and support businesses. So I'd love to hear what your experience has been like with SI Now and how they are providing more resources for economic development and for our businesses.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So just to even kind of reel it back into, so SI Now is an economic development initiative for the 17 most southern counties of Southern Illinois. Okay. And there's an incredible board of trustees that have worked together over the last few years to really put this organization, I guess, even literally and figuratively on the map. What's amazing about SI Now is that there are so many people collaboratively working together to promote this initiative. Like you mentioned, it's all about, promoting, our place, right? So Southern Illinois and the region. And, at the very beginning, it was all about helping marketing the region and kind of changing those perspectives, right? Of the people that live here. And that was that first step with SI Now, that kind of phase one, I would call it, of the business and marketing plan. And now Deb Barnett is in place as the executive director. They have Nick Holdinghausen as the marketing coordinator. We work very closely with both of them in all of their marketing efforts. And what's really exciting is that there's been this momentum of SI Now from an internal perspective, but now it's grown and they're really stepping out, and it's really turning into more of that external outreach. So they're heading to a SEMA show in Vegas where there's 100,000 people that attend this show. They're attending, Chamber of Commerce events and really, honing in on, what are the resources that people need? And eventually the idea is that, there'll be a full-on resource for site selection. If you're a business in another state looking for a site and you want to make sure that you have full understanding of utility rates and property value and, workforce, like what can this region provide?
Wow.
You're going to call SI now and they're going to be able to point you in the right direction.
That's amazing. I worked for a real estate company in Minnesota before I moved down here, and that was a big part of my job. I represented companies such as Starbucks and Verizon Wireless, and a main part was finding out information for site selection for them. So if they wanted to move into this new market, doing the research, and there aren't a lot of places where that information is readily available.
Right.
So this is really great that Marion, Southern Illinois, this entire region is beginning to become more attractive for those small businesses, make it easier for entry into this area.
Absolutely.
That's great.
And there's been a lot of collaboration at the city level as well. So there's obviously business owners that are involved in the different committees, but you're really seeing that collaboration through the different towns in the regions too. And I think that's something that maybe a lot of folks haven't really seen in a long time. There's a lot of individual economic groups, Greater Egypt, Jackson Growth Alliance. And it's really amazing to see the people that are involved in those groups too also be involved in SI Now. Because truly a win for one is a win for all. That's actually what A.B. Mills has always said that. And now SI Now has really adopted that phrase because it truly is, it's real. That's real, right?
Yeah.
If there's a win for the city of Marion, it's a win for the entire region.
Right.
If a new restaurant opens up out in Union County, that's a huge win for the entire region.
Yeah.
So it's definitely been a really fun organization to be a part of and kind of be involved in the marketing task force committee and collaborate with those folks too that are also in the same industry as us. So that's been really exciting. And we're obviously at Arthur Agency, we're so proud to even be a part of it, truly.
Yeah.
So,
what are some of the strategies, marketing-wise, that you've used to really get the word out about SI Now? Because it was a new entity.
Brand
so
new.
when you're launching something like that, there's a lot of work that goes into it. So I would love to hear some of the things that were important.
Yeah, at the very beginning, brand identity. I think that was really the biggest thing. There was a lot of discussion in the early days of, okay, these are some of the other organizations that have attempted this, right? And maybe they've been on different scales, or it's, only lasted a year. How can we make sure that the funding is in place, that we have the right investors, that the right people are involved to really get this thing going? And I think it was the momentum at the very beginning. It was right after COVID. I think a lot of folks were like, listen, like our communities have taken a hit.
Right.
How can we be involved? What can we do? And so from the very beginning, I think a lot of it, again, was that brand identity, making sure that everyone knows that it's a true geographic representation of the 17 counties. It's not just a 13 corridor, It's truly every single county. Like we are truly here to help serve all of them.
Right.
And then I think from, a social media perspective, again, from that phase one, that internal reach and just making sure that there's that like pride of place, again, kind of, especially with the social media strategy, I think that was the biggest thing, making sure that we're sharing some really incredible stories that are happening right in our backyards. We were able to develop case studies where internally we're able to vote on different businesses and find out who we really wanted to talk about. Crown Brew, Timberline Fisheries out of Marion.
Amazing.
Incredible national company.
I have to just stop and talk about them for a minute because I didn't realize they were the largest cricket producer in the United States. Like, I might even go further than that. I think they're one of the biggest cricket exporters in the world. Like, to be
Zoos,
right here.
Right down the street.
Pet shops, wholesale. Their company is incredible.
And they're expanding down by Lake of Egypt. I know they have a whole new facility down there. So they're up to really cool things. I would love to get them on this podcast. But I love that.
Definitely.
That they were one of the...
And another one was even Dinger Bats.
Oh, yeah.
How incredible. like Major League Baseball bats are being made right in our backyard.
I know.
Being shipped all over the country.
Right.
It's incredible. Yeah.
amazing.
So we were able to really hone in on some of those really incredible stories and kind of create some case studies. The website's really taken off. We're actually in the middle of doing some updates right now too. A little bit of video work, a little bit of paid media. And so, yeah, it's been exciting to be a part of. So outside of SI Now, there's been a lot of organizations that are investing in their social media. I think there's so much power in it. I don't think people realize how much power.
Yeah.
And especially in this digital landscape that we're in, you know, I think a lot of people realize, okay, like this is how we reach everyone. And the amazing part about it is not only are folks realizing that it's important, but they're realizing that their identity, like their brand, needs to be really in place. And so I think that was something even after COVID that we experienced too, is that we had not only small businesses, large manufacturers, but we had nonprofits come to us and say, okay, we've had a little break here. Like COVID kind of helped us slow down, realize what's important, kind of overlook and, you know, go through our values. You know, how do we want to be seen by the world? And so we had companies reaching out from St. Louis, truly all over. We work with companies out of Arkansas, all over the Midwest, and coming to us and saying, like, we want to have a stronger digital presence. Wow. How do we upgrade our social media? And so that's been really exciting to work on because people are seeing that value.
And I think that's such an important thing to note is that when you're putting a message out there and you don't know who you are or what you stand for, you will just kind of fall to the waist. Like if you don't have strong conviction in what you are as a brand, as what you are as a company, no one's going to know why they're coming to you or what's setting you apart. So I love that you said that when COVID hit and people just had to get down to the roots again and what was important and why they're doing what they're doing.
Definitely.
Almost motivation, right?
Yeah.
And what I love, I think, about SI Now is, you know, it's one thing telling a story, but it's another thing doing it with taste and excellence. And I've noticed that there's been nothing but extreme taste and excellence in everything that you guys like produce.
We're really proud of the branding.
It's incredible for something to be as new as it is. And for me, someone that's from here who's longed to have people capture the true essence and beauty of things that are happening here, I feel like you guys do a really great job of doing that. And so to see that, I'm like super impressed. I mean, you did an article on Crown Bros. We've had a lot of articles from all over, but that was by far the best one that's ever been written. And I was just thoroughly impressed by.
I can't take all the credit. My team is so amazing. It's truly, I work with geniuses, and it's an incredible team. But that's really nice. I appreciate that. That's one of my favorites. That was a good one. And we got to do some professional photography. We've been able to use some of those through different publications and some ads and stuff too. So it's been really great. So another branch of Arthur Agency is Jackson Street Publishing, and we actually started to create publications for different businesses and organizations in the region. And we were asked by SI Now to create a publication. And so that is actually coming out literally in like 2 weeks. We just got like a shipping notification. We're really excited. So you guys will start to see some of that too. That's just like a little sneak peek.
That's so cool.
But it's called Now. So Now Magazine. And we're also sharing a lot of really incredible stories in that too. So I'm excited for you guys to see that.
I can't wait.
It's amazing.
So is this like a monthly thing that comes out? Is it quarterly or is it just?
It'll be bi-yearly.
Bi-yearly.
Yes.
Okay.
So spring and fall. Yeah.
Very cool.
Love it.
Yes.
I love it. We've talked a lot about collaboration and businesses growing and coming to this area, but what has been the biggest obstacle in coming to this market that you've seen for businesses?
I would say the biggest obstacle right now is probably businesses coming to the area and not realizing what resources are available. Wow. There are so many resources as a small business owner, as a local business, as a manufacturer. Having those resources readily available to you, knowing where to go for those, I think that's a big obstacle right now across multiple industries. But there's been a lot of work in that and making sure that those resources are readily available. You know, the SBDC out of SIU does an incredible job, and it's free. They put on workshops. They teach you how to, you know, apply for patents and your business license and put together a marketing plan and a business plan. So having obstacles and maybe not realizing that those resources are available to you, I think is the biggest thing. Another one too is, again, we are centrally located within the U.S., obviously, 2-hour radius from St. Louis, 3-hour radius from, Memphis and Nashville. But we're not a big city, right? So how do you, how do you make sure that your workforce is there? How do you make sure that, higher level, make sure that you are connecting with these businesses that can provide resources to you, whether it's hiring, whether it's training, education, workforce management, everything. I mean, Red Lake, they're doing an incredible job. There's brand new programs popping up left and right. Yeah. There are these resources available. It's just a matter of going out and finding them. Truly.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned the SBDC, the Small Business Development Center, right on SIU's campus. And so a lot of businesses don't know what to do, or a lot of individuals that are starting a business can go there. And like you said, they'll walk you through what you need to have in place, to whether you're filing your, applying for an LLC, or getting your code so that you can, your EIN number, so you can open a bank account. We see that all the time, like people come to us, what do I need to open a business bank account? Well, you have to do this and this first before you can. But yeah, so just to have that resource there, I think they do an incredible job. So you're right. Yep, I'm glad you mentioned them.
Yeah,
for sure.
And then even just the small business incubator ethos at the Citadel. Yes. How amazing of a place is that, by the way, just right above the vault. And Russ Williams is doing a killer job there. All the different workshops he puts on, the different luncheons, networking events. I mean, you could already be a small business and live here and work here, but maybe you just want to learn a little bit more about leadership, or maybe you just need to know a little bit more, about, any topic, truly. Yeah. I mean, it's incredible the type of networking events that he's putting on. And again, it's all about networking.
It really is.
You can learn so much from someone that is not in your industry. And I think that's what I've loved about this area, is that everyone's truly willing to help each other. I think another resource too is to just truly call a business owner. Yeah. They will tell you exactly what they're doing. I think Jared said it right earlier. There really isn't that sense of competition down here. I think everyone truly wants to help each other and see everyone else thrive around them. I do think truly networking with other people in not only within your industry, but other industries will help you.
Yeah. Maybe they can have gone through something that you're about to, and can kind of steer you the right way. So,
yes, absolutely.
How can our listeners support or get involved in community development, or, what advice would you leave our listeners to today?
I think the one piece of advice I would leave is, I do think there's this misconception that supporting a local or small business means that you have to buy their product or service. That means that you have to physically walk into their business and spend money. But the truth is, it can cost you $0. It can truly cost you nothing to help support the businesses around you, whether you're leaving a Google review, or you're sharing their content on social media, or you're just engaging and commenting and saying, woohoo, I mean, that takes zero time and it costs you $0. So I would definitely say that's the biggest advice that I would give a listener right now.
That's so good. And I don't think I've ever really heard anyone say that, but it's so true. It's so true,
I mean, people live and die on their Google reviews, and it means if somebody gave Farmer State Bank a glowing review, it means, like, I share it with the entire team. I'm like, look at this person.
Yes.
They notice what you're doing.
Yes.
And it just means the world to a small business.
Absolutely. So, there's one of my favorite reels from Lauren Craig, owner of Eccentrics, is I think they always kind of do some fun like this around the holidays, but they will post a reel that's like, support your businesses, support local, and you leave, you're checking out, you walk out with your door, and they are truly doing a little happy dance behind the counter. That's real life.
It is. It really is.
It's real life. So,
It's true. Whenever we get like a Google review or something from the bank, we're like, oh my gosh, did you see this? Like, it really just, it raises the morale, everyone, it just creates that sense of pride and
Makes it all
Absolutely.
worth
it really
it.
does make a huge difference.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Absolutely.
So, Alex, if people were trying to get a hold of you or had marketing questions to ask you
Yes.
after this, how can they find you? How can they get a hold of you?
Yes. So you can email me at alex@arthuragency.com. Arthur Agency is in Carbondale. Our office is right next to Global Gourmet, right in town. And we have an incredible crew. So truly any marketing needs that are needed, website development, outdoor media, signage, social media, truly anything, give us a call or just shoot me an email.
I love it. This has been so
Fantastic,
fun.
yeah.
Thank you so
So
much for
good.
being on.
Thank you guys for having me. This was awesome.
We'll link all of Alex's information in our show notes today for you. But thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.